Why do some older women effortlessly attract younger men, while others push them away without realizing it? The answer isn't just about age or beauty, it's rooted in deep psychological patterns. Carl Jung, the legendary psychologist, revealed how certain unconscious habits can make an older woman seem less appealing to younger men, even if she's intelligent, successful, or charming. The good news? These behaviors can be changed once you're aware of them. Carl Jung's work on archetypes, the anima, the feminine unconscious in men, and shadow behaviors explains why attraction isn't just physical, it's psychological. Younger men are drawn to women who embody energy, authenticity, and emotional vitality. But certain habits, often unconscious, can disrupt that magnetism. Today, we'll uncover the 5 key habits that, according to Jungian psychology, make older women less attractive to younger men. Some may surprise you, but each one holds the key to transforming your presence and appeal. Let's begin. This intro is intriguing, authoritative, and concise, setting up curiosity while keeping the focus on Jung's insights, not just superficial advice. It smoothly transitions into the first habit without unnecessary narration cues. Habit 1. Living in the past. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who carries herself with a sense of possibility, someone who looks toward the future with curiosity rather than clinging to the past. Yet, one of the most common habits that can make an older woman seem less appealing to younger men is an over-attachment to bygone days. According to Carl Jung, this fixation often stems from the shadow, the unconscious part of our psyche that harbors repressed wounds, unprocessed regrets, and unresolved nostalgia. When a woman is trapped in cycles of reminiscing about the good old days, lamenting lost opportunities, or defining herself by past relationships, she inadvertently broadcasts emotional stagnation. Younger men, who are typically in a phase of life focused on growth and new experiences, instinctively recoil from this energy. It's not that the past shouldn't be honored, it's that living in it robs the present of its vitality. Jung believed that until we confront and integrate our shadow, the parts of ourselves we'd rather ignore, we remain stuck in repetitive patterns. An older woman who frequently compares present experiences to past ones, "Men were more chivalrous back then, I used to be so beautiful," isn't just sharing memories, she's signaling resistance to the natural flow of life. Younger men, whether they realize it or not, pick up on this dissonance. They're drawn to forward motion, adventure, and the sense that life is still unfolding. When a woman seems emotionally anchored in another era, it creates an invisible barrier. She may think she's being nostalgic, but what she's really doing is pushing away the very energy she hopes to attract. The solution isn't to erase the past but to reclaim it. Jungian psychology teaches that true maturity comes from integrating our experiences, both joyful and painful, without letting them define us. This means acknowledging past wounds without dwelling in them, celebrating former triumphs without using them as a crutch, and, most importantly, finding meaning in the present. An older woman who radiates this kind of self-awareness becomes irresistibly compelling. She doesn't hide her age or her history, she wears them lightly, with the quiet confidence of someone who's still growing. For younger men, this is intoxicating. It suggests mystery, depth, and an unshakable sense of self, qualities far more captivating than mere nostalgia. The key is to honor the past without living in it so the future, and the people in it, can meet you where you are now. Habit 2. Being overly motherly. One of the most common yet overlooked dynamics that can undermine attraction between an older woman and a younger man is the tendency to slip into an overly maternal role. At first glance, nurturing behavior may seem harmless, even endearing, but when it crosses into motherly territory, it fundamentally shifts the romantic energy between two people. Carl Jung's concept of the Great Mother archetype helps explain why this happens. The archetype represents the primal forces of nourishment and protection, but when it dominates a woman's interactions, it stifles the erotic charge that fuels desire. Younger men, whether consciously or not, are not looking for a caretaker in a romantic partner. They seek an equal, someone who challenges them, excites them, and engages them as a lover, not as a child. The moment an older woman begins treating a younger man like a son, fussing over his diet, offering unsolicited advice, or attempting to fix his life, she unknowingly extinguishes the spark of attraction. Romance thrives on tension, mystery, and mutual respect, not on one-sided caretaking. A man who feels mothered may initially appreciate the attention, but over time, he'll begin to associate the relationship with dependency rather than passion. Jung warned about the dangers of archetypal possession when a person becomes so identified with a particular energy, in this case, the mother, that they lose touch with other aspects of themselves. An older woman who falls into this pattern may believe she's being loving, but in reality, she's neglecting her own needs as a sensual, multifaceted woman. The solution lies in striking a delicate balance between warmth and autonomy. This doesn't mean withholding affection or becoming coldly detached. Rather, it's about allowing a younger man the space to step into his own masculinity. Instead of solving his problems for him, a woman can offer support while still expecting him to take the lead in his own life. Instead of smothering him with concern, she can express interest in his world while maintaining her own passions and boundaries. Jungian psychology teaches that healthy relationships require the interplay of opposites, strength and softness, independence and intimacy. When an older woman embodies this equilibrium, she becomes far more alluring. She's not just a source of comfort, she's a dynamic presence who inspires admiration and desire. By resisting the gravitational pull of the mother archetype, she preserves the erotic charge that keeps a younger man captivated, not because she's playing games, but because she's honoring the full spectrum of who she is. Habit 3. Excessive negativity or cynicism. Few things extinguish attraction faster than the slow drip of negativity. When an older woman falls into habitual complaining, cynicism, or a generally pessimistic outlook, she unknowingly repels the very energy she hopes to attract. Carl Jung's concept of the negative anima explains this phenomenon perfectly. In Jungian psychology, the anima represents the feminine principle within the male psyche, an inner force that, when healthy, inspires creativity, passion, and emotional depth. But when this feminine energy turns toxic, it manifests as perpetual dissatisfaction, emotional heaviness, and a joyless view of life. Younger men, who typically possess abundant energy and optimism about their future, instinctively recoil from this draining presence. They may not understand why they feel repelled, but on a subconscious level, they recognize this negativity as antithetical to their natural life force. The modern dating landscape presents particular challenges here. An older woman who constantly complains about how awful men are these days, laments the state of the world, or approaches new experiences with immediate skepticism creates an emotional barrier. Jung warned that when the anima becomes negative, it doesn't just affect the individual, it poisons relationships and stifles growth. Younger men in their prime aren't looking for someone to drag them into endless discussions about what's wrong with everything. They're drawn to partners who can match their vitality and help them see possibilities. This doesn't mean suppressing genuine concerns or pretending life is perfect. But there's a profound difference between occasional, authentic sharing of struggles and making negativity a personality trait. The former builds intimacy, the latter destroys attraction. Transforming this pattern requires conscious effort to reconnect with lighter, more playful energies. Jung believed in the healing power of what he called the eternal child archetype, that spontaneous, joyful aspect of ourselves that finds wonder in everyday experiences. An older woman who cultivates this quality becomes magnetic in unexpected ways. It's not about forced positivity or denying life's difficulties, but rather about balancing realism with an open-hearted approach to living. Simple practices can help: learning to laugh at life's absurdities, seeking out uplifting experiences, or consciously reframing challenges as opportunities. When a woman does this inner work, she stops being an emotional drain and instead becomes what Jung envisioned the healthy anima to be: a source of inspiration. Younger men will naturally gravitate toward this energy, not because she's pretending to be someone she's not, but because she's chosen to emphasize her most life-affirming qualities. In a world full of negativity, a woman who radiates authentic optimism and emotional resilience becomes irresistibly attractive. Habit 4. Trying too hard to look/act young. There's an uncomfortable paradox many older women face in dating younger men. The more desperately they try to appear youthful, the more they actually highlight the very age difference they hope to conceal. This phenomenon finds its explanation in Jung's concept of the persona, the social mask we present to the world, and what happens when that mask becomes disconnected from our true self. Jung warned that when we over-identify with our persona, especially one rooted in denial of our natural stage of life, we create a psychological split that others intuitively sense. Younger men may not consciously analyze why they feel uneasy around a woman who's had excessive cosmetic procedures or adopts teenage slang, but on a primal level, they detect the incongruence between her outward presentation and her authentic self. This dissonance registers not as attractiveness, but as insecurity, perhaps the least appealing quality in any potential partner. The modern world's obsession with youth exacerbates this challenge, pressuring women to fight aging at all costs. But Jungian psychology reveals the tragic irony of this pursuit. The more energy we spend clinging to youth, the more we neglect the unique power and beauty available only through maturity. A woman in her 50s dressing like she's 25 doesn't make her appear younger. It makes her appear afraid of who she truly is. Younger men, contrary to popular belief, aren't actually looking for older women who pretend to be their contemporaries. They're drawn to women who carry their years with confidence, who understand that true allure comes from self-possession, not from chasing an impossible standard of perpetual youth. The most attractive quality any woman can possess at any age is the quiet assurance that comes from being completely comfortable in her own skin. The solution lies not in rejecting self-care or letting oneself go, but in redefining what it means to age beautifully. Jung emphasized the importance of individuation, the process of becoming our most authentic selves by integrating all aspects of our personality, including those we might initially resist. For the older woman, this means making peace with her changing appearance while cultivating her unique strengths, her wisdom, her experience, her emotional intelligence. When she stops apologizing for her age and instead begins to showcase the advantages that come with it, she becomes infinitely more compelling than any desperate attempt at youth could ever make her. The younger men who are truly worth her time will recognize and appreciate this depth. They don't want a woman trying to be something she's not. They want one who's proud of who she is, wrinkles, wisdom, and all. This authentic confidence creates a magnetic pull that no amount of anti-aging products could ever replicate. Habit 5. Lack of passion or purpose. Few things dim a woman's radiance faster than the slow erosion of passion and purpose. When an older woman loses connection with her inner fire, when her days become defined by routine rather than aspiration, by obligation rather than inspiration, she unknowingly surrenders one of her most attractive qualities. Carl Jung's concept of individuation speaks directly to this phenomenon. The lifelong process of becoming our most authentic, fully realized selves doesn't end at midlife. If anything, it grows more urgent. Younger men, often at the peak of their own ambition and curiosity, instinctively gravitate toward women who mirror this vital energy. They're not looking for someone who has all the answers, but rather someone who's still asking compelling questions about life, about herself, about the world. A woman who's stopped growing, who's abandoned her dreams or settled into complacency, inadvertently sends a message that her best years are behind her. Nothing could be further from the truth or less attractive to a younger partner. The modern world often tells women that their value decreases with age, creating a dangerous temptation to withdraw from meaningful pursuits. But Jungian psychology reveals the opposite. A woman's second half of life holds unparalleled potential for depth and contribution. The unattractiveness of purposelessness isn't about productivity, it's about vitality. A younger man doesn't need his partner to be changing the world on a grand scale, but he does need to see that spark of engagement with life, whether through her career, creative endeavors, intellectual curiosity, or service to others. Jung believed that when we neglect our true calling, we don't just stagnate. We suffer a kind of spiritual starvation that affects every aspect of our being, including our relationships. The woman who has given up on her passions often carries an invisible weight of resignation that no amount of surface charm can conceal. Reclaiming this vital energy doesn't require dramatic life overhauls. It begins with small but significant acts of self-reclamation. Perhaps it's returning to a long-abandoned hobby with fresh perspective, or approaching daily tasks with renewed mindfulness and artistry. Maybe it's finally pursuing that degree, starting that side business, or dedicating time to a cause that matters. What matters isn't the scale of the pursuit, but the authenticity behind it. When a woman rediscovers activities that make her feel fully alive, she undergoes a visible transformation. Her posture straightens, her eyes brighten, her conversation becomes more engaging. Younger men don't just notice this shift, they're drawn to it like moths to flame. There's an undeniable magnetism in someone who's passionately engaged with life, regardless of age. By honoring her need for purpose, an older woman doesn't just attract better partners. She creates a life so rich and compelling that partnership becomes a choice rather than a necessity. In Jung's vision of wholeness, this is where true attractiveness resides, not in the desperate pursuit of youth, but in the joyful expression of one's authentic, evolving self. As we've explored these 5 habits, living in the past, slipping into motherly dynamics, indulging in negativity, chasing youth inauthentically, and losing touch with purpose, a powerful pattern emerges. These aren't just random dating missteps. They're manifestations of deeper psychological imbalances that Carl Jung spent his career illuminating. Each habit represents a different way women may unconsciously disconnect from their full potential, whether clinging to what was rather than embracing what is, over-identifying with nurturing roles at the expense of romantic ones, or allowing cynicism to overshadow curiosity. What makes these patterns particularly damaging is how they compound over time, creating a persona that feels safe but ultimately repels the very connection most women desire. The common thread? They're all variations of abandoning one's authentic self, and nothing is less attractive, regardless of age, than inauthenticity. Jung's ultimate lesson here transcends dating advice. It's a roadmap for living with integrity at any stage of life. True attractiveness, in the deepest sense, has never been about wrinkle-free skin or trendy outfits. It springs from what Jung called individuation, that lifelong process of integrating all parts of ourselves, shadows and light, into a cohesive whole. When a woman does this inner work, she becomes magnetic in ways that defy conventional beauty standards. Her confidence comes not from denying her age but from embracing her hard-won wisdom. Her warmth flows from self-acceptance rather than people-pleasing. Her passions make her eyes sparkle more than any cosmetic ever could. Younger men, or any worthwhile partner, respond to this depth instinctively because it's rare, real, and refreshing in a world obsessed with surfaces. This psychological wholeness creates an allure that no anti-aging cream or dating strategy can replicate. Now we'd love to hear from you. Which of these habits resonated most with your experiences? Was it the danger of living in nostalgia, or perhaps recognizing moments when you've slipped into motherly patterns without realizing it? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might help other women navigating similar challenges. If this exploration of Jungian psychology and relationships intrigued you, consider subscribing for more content that bridges timeless wisdom with modern dating realities. The journey toward becoming your most authentic, attractive self is ongoing, and we're here to explore it together, one psychological insight at a time. Remember, transformation begins with awareness, and every small step toward wholeness makes you more magnetic than any superficial change ever could.